Hello. This week we learning Parsha Naso. It's the longest Parsha in the Torah, from what I understand. And it seems that on the face of it, it's like a collection of totally unrelated items. First, there is the account of the Levitical families, Gershon and Merari, and their tasks of carrying heavy parts of the tabernacle when the Israelites are on the journey in the desert. Then laws about the restitution, the restoration basically of something lost or stolen to a proper owner, or compensation which must take place if the goods could not be returned or replaced back. Then comes the strange ordeal of the Satah, the woman suspected by her husband of adultery. And then next comes the law of the Nazirite, the person who voluntarily takes a vow of not using wine or grape products, doesn't cut his hair or her hair, and must avoid dead bodies, so cannot attend the funerals pretty much the same way as the Kohanim, because it defiles him or her. This is then followed again, seemingly with no connection whatsoever, by one of the oldest prayers in the world, which is still in use today, is the priestly blessings. Then, with this constant repetition, comes an account of gifts which brought by the princes, by the heads of different tribes, for the dedication of the tabernacle. And a series of long paragraphs repeated no less than 12 times, since each prince brought basically identical offerings. So, what is going on? Why does the Torah spend so much time describing an event that could have been stated far more briefly by naming the princes and then simply telling us generically that each brought, a silver dish, a silver basin, and so on? The main question here is, what is the logic of this apparently disconnected series of statements? A single theme binds the laws and the narrative of this parsha, and the theme of making special efforts to preserve or restore peace between people. This is what it's all about. Peace is easily damaged and very hard to repair. More than that, in this parsha is raising the importance of moral behavior, the importance of morality. Rabbi Menachem Feldman, in one of his articles, says, it's hard to be spiritual in a material world. Our possessions come to possess us. We can't put down our smartphones or that last piece of chocolate cake, which is very tempting, myself included. We can spend years working to achieve success in a career or in a relationship or in any other worthy pursuit, and then throw it all away for a foolish, momentary, temporary temptation. You know what I mean. So how do we achieve harmony in lives? How do we get to a place where there is no conflict between our spiritual goals and our physical needs? In other words, this parsha teaches us the importance of morality to us as individuals and as members of our respective communities or our countries, citizens of our countries. It does so by describing basically three laws. The wayward woman, second one, the Nazirite, and the third one, the priestly blessing, which concludes with a blessing for peace and an example of elevation of physical work to spirituality, which is the work of the Levites, the Levite families. First, the Torah describes the law of a wayward woman. Right. The Hebrew word for wayward, satah, is related to the word for foolishness, shtut. The Talmud states, a person does not commit a transgression unless the spirit of folly enters him or her. Thus, the satah personifies the person who acts against his or her better judgment as a result of great temptation, which is basically immoral behavior. To discover how to overcome this state of satah, we look to the next portion, the portion of the Nazirite in this Torah portion, which, when understood correctly, is the secret of achieving the inner spiritual harmony described in the priestly blessing, which is follow on. The Nazirite, the man or a woman who takes a vow to temporarily refrain from drinking wine or alcohol and cutting their hair, and they are referred as holy people. In other words, Torah is telling us that we must be very careful when we're drinking wine, since if we overdo it, we enter the spirit of sin, confusion, and act silly, or even sometimes immorally. In Torah, the ideal model of holiness is the human being which engages with the physical world and imbues it with the spirituality, and creating peace between the body and the soul, like the tribe of Levi, which was given a very physical task of dismantling, carrying and reassembling the Mishkan, and at the same time serving as a priest in the temple. The Torah provides the roadmap to the journey from satah to Nazirite, to the priestly blessing, from folly to control, to peace and harmony. You will say, all right, what all of this has got to do with our life today? The importance of morality in our days is very hard to overestimate. The foundations of our society depend on it. George Washington, for instance, said, human rights can only be assumed among a virtuous people. Benjamin Franklin said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom, or Thomas Jefferson when he said, a nation as a society forms a moral person and every member, for it is personally responsible for his society. Lose morality and eventually you will lose your liberty. That's how important all of this is. Now, today what we experience right now in the world is a purposeful destruction, deliberate destruction of morality. The people demonstrating, rioting, and looting in the United States today, and some of them trying to copy it around the world, represent three different groups of moral or immoral behavior. Those who peacefully demonstrate against the brutal murder of George Floyd are standing up for the rights of black people to be treated by police without any discrimination, and that is 100% highly moral behavior. They peacefully making a statement of disagreement with the current status of affairs. Those who opportunistically use the protests and destroy shops and businesses and conduct looting are typically immoral thugs or criminals who always existed and are not a new reflection of our world lack of moral values. They always existed. They simply should be arrested and sent to jail without any hesitation. The third group is the worst. It's much worse than even those above-mentioned criminals. They are the demonstrators paid by socialist billionaires and other so-called liberals. The Wikipedia says that they backed a political fundraising group called the Democracy Alliance, which supports progressive causes, and the formation of a stronger progressive infrastructure in America. That means that they are supporting the US Democrats with billions of dollars due to their personal socialist ideas, thinking that they are safe in their big palaces from rioters which they generate the riots. How low should fall the moral and ethical standards of a person who is using his own money to facilitate rioting by other people, while there is an ongoing pandemic in the world, who would do anything for $1 simply in order to discredit somebody who has opposing political views or ideas, like the President of the United States. Yes, they are against the President of the United States and they using riots to discredit him. I saw an interview of a human being, I hesitate to call him Homo sapiens, stating that he simply completed a form on one of their websites, stated how much money he wants and how many demonstrations he will attend, and the check arrives in the mail. He clearly said that rioting is his profession now. This is the pinnacle of immorality. But people financially facilitating all of this are much worse than even this primate, since the rioters are there for the money. And this particular rioter was not even black, no. He was a white American simply going to the job to riot because he was paid for it. But financiers are deliberately destroying the fiber of our society, and they are destroying the moral and ethical fiber of the whole Western civilization. All I can say is, may they get what they deserve when Hashem will give them his judgment. Shabbat Shalom.